right? And I thought, no, that doesn't feel awesome. So I thought, I'll just go faster. So I started to move off. Only got to about 5 knots. Now the thing starts not only spinning, but doing this big pendulum.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Big pendulum movement, right, underneath the chopper. And before long, the helicopter's getting thrown all over the sky. I mean, I'm totally out of control. I'm at 300 feet in the air. The tower come on. They go, bravo, India, Quebec, what are your intentions? I go, my intentions are to live. With that, I jettisoned the thing.
Yeah.
And it's gone down, pulled down by the lead weight, right? But it's hit the ground, spread out like a big giant marshmallow. But then it's gathered itself back up again and come firing straight back up to the air. In the meantime, I'm diving at the ground to try and get airspeed.
Yeah.
I rolled to the right to made sure it missed me, and I managed to fly out of the dive just before I hit the ground.
Hotel, when you bought that, you were saying in on old interviews that back then in Sydney it was just in the bush essentially, and then Sydney's just now
Sydney built around it. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you know, it was out at Leppington was sort of, if you put a pinpoint somewhere between Liverpool and Campbelltown and Penrith, we were about there, so it was no man's land. And it was a pretty wild pub in those days, but I cleaned it all up and had the background to clean it up, so I cleaned it up and it became a pretty good pub. It was a great pub, actually. I loved it. I owned it for about 24 years. And, it was a great lifestyle. But I had family that were able to look after the pub and run the pub while I was away doing lots of other things. Yep. So it was just a time in life where it worked, you know what I mean? Like, and I think there's a lot of things in your life that work because of the timing on things like that. If I bought, I'd love to have another pub, but I would want that pub. Nowadays, pubs are just big. They're big, big restaurants, basically.
Yeah.
So much different to what I was used to in those days.
Yeah. Now they're more Ritz. They're like a hotel type.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're a hotel and a restaurant, and but when dinner time's over by 9 o'clock, the pub's empty. So I don't know. When I look at the amount of money they're getting on some of these hotels, and I just think of this. I just don't know how they could ever recoup the money for it. I mean, I could have bought the Crossroads back when I sold Lockie's, I think for $12 million, which was in 2002. Yeah, I think, maybe 2002, and it just sold for $195 million.
Holy!
I mean,
yeah,
you just can't. There's no way you can't make that sort of money out of a hotel. I think it's basically that it becomes an item that is owned by conglomerates or whatever, and they hang on to it, and then eventually they'll probably sell it for $230 million or something. I think that's how they make their money back. Yeah, don't know. So
when you had the movie, because a lot of people were like, ask George if any of the movie's true. But so was like some of the stuff based from like around King's Cross? Is that where it was?
Yeah, a lot of it from there. Yeah, and also basically that's what happened when the breathalyzer was brought out. Yeah, I mean, I'd have probably 300 people in the pub on a Friday night, and I think from memory it came in on the Thursday night. So Thursday over to the Friday, I had 2 people. Yeah, it was unbelievable. It killed hotels like you wouldn't believe. So it was a struggle, and but I knew a lot of the flower growers being in that area. A lot of the flower growers were growing marijuana crops. The cops were involved in it. They were given a protection. Then they'd tell them, rip it all out because we're going to have a big bust, and some didn't, some did. Yeah. So I kind of had all the when I say it's a true story, no, it's not. I didn't run off and plant marijuana, but I knew a lot of people that did that sort of thing, and that's what gave me the idea of it. And also the red light camera idea in it came from that time when red light cameras first came out, so it was a great story to put it all together, and a lot of the characters are based on real characters, and it was interesting. But you know what, the crop for me was a giggle. It was great, and I just hope that anybody that watches it, which appears to be the case, people who don't read the slanderous remarks that I copped from within the industry, actually watch the movie and love it, and they all go, it was so fun. It was just a fun flick.
I think that's what people have got to know for any movie. Like, we see stuff now coming out on Netflix, and they'll be like, this is the latest thing, and you'll see the reviews come out, and they're like 4 out of 10. And I'm like, well, let's watch this and find out. And you'll watch it, and you'll be like, that was to me, I give it at least a 6 or a 7 out of 10. Yeah, it might have not been some movies I've seen the best thing, but it wasn't bad. And I was like, and it's, I don't know, I think they're getting pickier and pickier because there's so much on Netflix, Stan, this,
so much
Disney,
choice,
and that choice that people can get quite like, I don't know. Sometimes they give these, you know, some places, like you said, like the gold, like, you know, your Golden Globes and all that sort of stuff. It's friends of friends and whoever's going to get it, because you see some of these ratings 10 out of 10. I'm like, that was not 10 out of 10, but you know, it's
what I'm wondering, George, is your movie, it's only on Apple. Are you going to also, you know, you said you're putting your books back out there. Are you going to try and move the movie more on other apps, like even Prime Video, for example?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
I'm going to try to do that. The focus is now to get my third book out, which, as I said, completes the trilogy. Yeah. And then I want to have like basically a George Elliot entertainment pack. You know? So we'll get it out there onto different formats. Yeah. And at the time I did all that sort of stuff, we didn't have that opportunity. Like I said, you know, you didn't have the outlets to be able to get it onto, and you were just at everybody else's mercy, you know, like they. And if you think about it, the way it was explained to me is that all the power is in the people that can release it. So they're the ones that are going to make the money, and they protect that. You know, people like that want to write a film or, you know, come up with a good storyline. There's thousands in, and again, come to the circle thing, thousands in this big balloon, right? Yeah. But then you've got to get somebody to actually make it. Well, now there's only this many people that actually make it, unless you do what I did and just basically went ahead because I wasn't smart enough to realise you shouldn't be able to do that, you know. But when it comes time to releasing it, then it's only this big. There's only a very, very small amount of people that will actually put it out there on film. And they're the ones that protect everything, and they don't want people like me coming along and being successful. They want to make sure they keep it all in-house, you know. And look, I guess that's just the way it is. And as I say, I've got no regrets over it. I did, I did okay out of it, and it was just a great time in my life, something that was something that I got incredible pleasure out of doing, and met a lot of fantastic people, so it was great.
Did you learn your acting gig from the McDonald's ad? Because that was,
you know what, I tried to do acting lessons, and in the end, I just said, you know what, just let me be myself. I don't want to do that. Just let me be me, and we'll get through it all right. The McDonald's thing was, that was a bit of fun too, and that came about purely by accident and through racing, because Shell asked me to do an ad. Which didn't get a lot of publicity. It did go out. There was it got a few, but then there was an agent that actually saw the Shell commercial, and they rang and asked me was I interested in doing one for McDonald's. Yeah, and I said that'll be cool. So I did the McDonald's commercial, but that got heaps of play, like tons, to a point where I couldn't walk into a cafe or a restaurant without everybody was looking at me, and I didn't actually like it that much. You know, I wasn't real keen on that. And I got asked to do a few others, which I just decided not to do. I just said, no, I've done enough of that. Yeah, I'll do something else, you know.
I was looking at the burgers on that ad. I was like, Macca's does not look like these days.
No,
look like a legit burger that you were eating back then.
It was funny, mate. It was a legit burger, but what they had was a big wooden cardboard box sitting beside me. So I'd take one bite out, and then I'd have to spit it out and throw that one away, and then get another one. Because as you know, they did so many takes. Yeah. You know. But that was a fun thing to do, and I got a lot of fun out of it, and you know, a lot of notoriety, I guess. Yeah. It's funny how people remember. I get amazed at the amount of people that even remember who I am. To be honest, I get a bit blown away. You know, like even to be asked to come in here and do this, I feel pretty honoured that you guys would put yourselves out to actually ask me to come along. In fact, I think the first time when you asked me, I think I said to you, mate, there's a lot more interesting people than me. Why would you want to talk to me?
Yeah. So we're excited that you're here. That's the thing. Like for us, it's like, wow, we're like going through everything, you know, we knew what you'd done, but then researching it more and more. And it's just, you've had an incredible life.
Yeah,
like,
it's
and
never
everything.
been dull.
Yeah. And people want to hear that because you're coming from a background as well. Your story is like amazing, but you're not making it impossible. So some of us see like the Lewis Hamiltons and people go, how the hell? Or you see some people that came from $100 million family. You've made it, and you've also walked into industries where you've just pushed down doors. Yeah. What is your advice for people? You've come from like having so many naysayers and saying you can't write a book because you're not from the background, a movie, or even drive a car. What do you say to others like to change that narrative and just walk through?
I guess the first thing I'll say is don't don't listen to the dream stealers because there's plenty of them out there. And then believe in yourself. You know, it's as I said when we talk about driving out onto the racetrack, you got to believe in your own heart that you're the best there is.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, you know.
Yeah.
So that's probably the most important thing. And but that's not as easy as it sounds, to be honest, because there are a lot of knockers. There's a lot of people that will continually tell you can't do this and you can't do that. You can do anything you want to do. You just got to want it bad enough. And I really believe that, you know. I just believed and have proved it over and over again that if you decide that you really want to do something, if you want it bad enough, you'll make it happen.
Yeah. See, I had this idea for the podcast where I wanted to invite guys like yourself on, and people were just like, oh, yeah, just do it via Zoom and do it by this. I was like, no, I had this like a legit plan. Have the couch that you're sitting on, George, doing it this way, having your monitor there, having a producer that gets involved. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, good for you, because I think it's a great thing to do. I hated you about an hour ago, by the way, because the traffic was a nightmare. But I understood that, you know what I mean? Like I thought, you know, well, this is where you're coming from. I understood what it is that you're trying to build and what you're trying to do, and I'm happy to be able to contribute to that in some way.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, it was just difficult, and a difficult time. A year, I guess, just trying to find the time to do it. And as I said, I was becoming really, really worried that you might think, oh, I'm just, you know, I feel like I'm
taking the piss.
I don't need to do that. But that wasn't the case at all. I'm like just got so much going on. But it's funny how, it's funny how different people take different rewards from things they do too. Yeah. I can see that both you guys are getting great rewards out of being able to sit here and talk to people and then be able to get it out there for people to understand. And people are going to remember that. They'll remember it for everything. I mean, I'm blown away at the amount of people that come to me every day. Okay, George, remember this or you remember that. There are so many people out there that know more about me than I know. You know, I've forgotten most of the stuff, you know. Yeah. In fact, I got on an aeroplane not long ago, and we talk about the guy that first sponsored me in the Mini. I was on it was to Perth, actually, on a flight to Perth, and the head steward came down and he knelt down beside my seat. And he goes, "Are you George Elliot?" And I go, "Who wants to know?" You know? I go, "Yeah, that's right." He said, "The NASCAR driver." I said, yeah. He goes, "Do you remember the Mini that you used to race out of Macca Service Centre?" I said, "Yeah, of course I do. I remember it really, really well." Yeah. He said, "Do you remember there was a little blonde-headed kid that used to follow you everywhere with stars in his eyes just looking at you?" Yeah. I said, "Yeah, I remember that kid, yeah." He said, "That little kid was me."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he said, "My name's Rhett Scullion." And, you know, when things like that happen to you, it makes you just have a real good think about the effect you've had on people's lives. You know, and I'd love to think that I've had positive effect on a lot of people's lives. And I do get that. There's a lot of guys, you know, that are out there racing today that will openly say, "Man, I'm doing this because of you." That's pretty cool. Yeah. So it's not always about the money.
No. And that's what I think. You're also with your business giving like guys like myself and other drivers a go, which is what Luffy said to me on the phone, just to see how far you can go with the business. It's not like a full-time business, but it's to see what will happen.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like you brought Joey in, you brought me in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like you're bringing in like the NASCAR type of feeling to the, because you know you got drivers. Oh yeah, I know. I've seen that driver. Or what's the feeling though when you get like, as you said, like, I don't know, 400 people turn up a day and some might even know a race car, like not even know who a race car driver is.
No, they don't. They haven't got a clue. The good thing about that is when you see people go from being so nervous they can hardly get in the car to getting out at the end of their session with the biggest smile you've ever seen in your life, like, and really feeling, wow, so pumped they've achieved something that they never believed they could achieve. They've gone faster than they could ever imagine they'd be able to go. And, you know, you send them away with a real good feel, not only the fact that they've just done something and had a bit of fun, but a feeling of accomplishment for themselves, you know. And I think that's a great thing to do. It's, it's a funny thing with race cars. You can actually push people real hard beyond what they ever imagined they thought they would be able to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a way to obviously training people out there like myself who's going out today for the first ever time to just get someone that you don't know to just focus. Because you said at the start of the podcast, by the end of the day, you've got to be like you were at the start of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And and it's not easy to do that because they are tough days. And as I said, I often laugh thinking, nowadays I'm a professional hot lap driver. That's all I do is I drive full noise all day, sometimes 7 or 8 hours in the car. So I've got to be really mindful that I'm taking somebody for a ride at the end of the day, and they deserve to have the best ride I can give them. No matter how tired I am or how worn out I am. We often laugh and think, everybody wants to be a hot lap driver until they become a hot lap driver and realise how hard it is, Yeah. But it's great to be able to have that gift of being able to give back to people. I love that.
Yeah, that's why I kind of also created the podcast, just to show people's lives, which is what you said about, which is great about the show. I guess it shows people more behind the helmet. Stories behind the
absolutely.
helmet.
No, there's so much more. I mean, as I say, I know we're on limited time here today. We could sit here for the next 3 days, mate.
We're about to wrap up as you said that.
Cool. So. No worries.
So I don't know if you've listened to a few shows already, George, but we have the show called The Fast Five, similar to what you've had actually produced in one of your ads for. Similar name actually, The Fast Five. It's 5 questions. It's not, you don't have to run through them. It's an A, B, C, D scenario now. Brooks actually
some of them are. I think
multiple choice. Do I get to phone a friend, or is it?
we could bring that in season 3 if you want. But yeah, the Fast Five is pretty much a Fast Five question. If you get, what is it, Brooke? What's the
3 out of 5?
3 out of 5. You get 3 out of 5. You get a prize.
3 out of 5.
And then if you get 0 out of correct, you get to take me to Eastern Creek and just hear me talk shit.
Okay, let's go to Eastern Creek. Fire away, Brooke.
All right. Do you want me to do the first one?
You can do the first one.
All right. Some of these are going to be from, from the movie side and some from NASCAR. So the first one we've got is, which book was not written by Bryce Courtney?
Which book was not
written by Bryce Courtney?
Was written by Bryce Courtney?
Was not written.
Oh, was not written.
Yeah, so what did he not write?
Little Red Riding Hood.
Well, you've got 4 choices here. Was it A, The Power of One, B, The Persimmon Tree, C, Ice Station, or D, Jessica?
I'd say probably Ice Station, but I don't really know.
Yes. That's correct. That was written by Matthew Riley.
Clever me.
There we go. All right. And number 2 is, at the last ever Thunderdome meeting, 2 more NASCAR events were held in Australia. Where were these events held at?
One was in Adelaide at the at Malala.
Yep.
I know because I won it.
Yep.
And there was one in Queensland Raceway.
Yep. That's what I said.
Yeah.
See, Brooks researched it.
See, I researched this and got to. There was the other one that was in Perth or WA.
Yeah, Perth. I was in. I raced there too. Yeah.
And the Australian Grand Prix.
And the Australian Grand Prix. Yeah. And also
you can go
Gold Coast. I mean, there's a number of them.
Yeah. So this is after the NASCAR sanction. It just went. What did it go into? Was it the Power?
It was the Power Tour. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
In fact, Barry Blake put on a the show in Perth, which is where I killed the biggest brown snake I've ever seen in my life. I come hurtling around to go up the hill there, and there was a big king brown right on the middle of the racetrack with its head up like that, ready for attack.
Yeah.
Whash! There was nowhere else I could go, and I'm all the way around for the rest of that lap. I'm looking at my feet thinking, oh, I didn't like that.
Is this why the Browns show up so much in the movie?
Yeah, I've got a fear of snakes. Yeah.
Right. Oh, well, that's one of your fears. There you go.
So what's that? That's 2 out of 2.
Yep.
How about that?
There you go. Brooke, you can go to this one.
All right. Which Australian actor played Lieutenant Colonel Clark Marshall in the recently released Netflix movie Interceptor? So was it A, Ryan Quanten, B, Chris Hemsworth, C, Patrick Brammall, or D, Reese Muldoon?
I haven't got a clue, but I'd say it's Patrick. Was it Patrick?
Reese.
It was Reese, was it?
Yeah.
Reese. I'd like to think I gave him his start in that too.
That's pretty much why we brought it up. All right, the next one. Back to a racing question, George. What America circuit did your former teammate Nathan Hearn recently complete at earlier this year? Was it A, Laguna Seca, B, COTA, C, Watkins Glen, or D, Daytona International Speedway?
Oh, my God. Yeah, you're pushing it. I don't know. It may have been...
in Trans Am. So he raced in Trans Am overseas this year.
Yeah. Was it Daytona? I don't know.
It was COTA.
It was COTA.
Circus of America.
I was going to say COTA, but then I thought, did they go to the flat track? Because I know they're running a flat track down at Daytona. It was COTA.
So wait, look, is this an equal? This is the
not doing real well, am I?
This question is your decider.
This is your decider.
This is the decider. Here we go.
I told you I wasn't that smart.
And you've done
well.
You've done plenty of laps around Bathurst recently, so you should be able to get this one hopefully. What is the approximate length of the Bathurst racetrack? Is it A, 4.8
kilometres?
B, 4.8 kilometres,
Yeah.
B, 5.9, C, 6.2, or D, 8.3?
6.2, I think it is.
Oh,
Bingo.
Bingo. There we go.
George, you get a Fast Five prize. There you go.
What have you got, Dan?
Well,
Sneaking behind his desk to find.
Yeah, I know. It's scary.
I'm running low on presents because I've done so many podcasts with Brooke recently. So I'm going to give you two. One is a stress ball dog.
Right.
That might be good because you're always on the road and you might deal with traffic. And then the other one is a TV and movies quiz.
TV and movies quiz. That might be a bit of fun. I'll go with that.
That one's good fun. It's got all even up from the old stuff to the later stuff. We had fun, yeah.
And I thought, because I connected with some of your family on Facebook recently, over the Christmas holidays, you can, play that with them.
Yep, that sounds like a lot of fun. I might learn something anyway.
Yeah, there you go. So, George, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. And after this, we'll be obviously heading out to Eastern Creek together and I'm pumped, and I'm sure we'll get into another episode later on when we reach over 100 episodes. You can bring some other guests in. So,
guys, look, you know what? I appreciate you asking me to come along, and like always, I always believe there's a lot more talent out there in the stands than there is in the race cars. So let's go see what we can do, eh?
Sounds good. Cheers, George. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Want to hear more? Each week we will share the hottest clips from our guest interviews on YouTube. But to hear the full episode, make sure to subscribe or follow us on your favourite podcast platform.